Do you know what could make or break your video? Okay, a lot of things, but also framing. The rule of thirds is a basic framework that you need to know about framing. See what I did there? Basically, you take a frame and you draw 4 lines, 2 horizontal, 2 vertical, cutting the frame evenly into 9 boxes. These also create thirds, 3 horizontal and 3 vertically. The idea of the rule of thirds is to use these lines to guide you into a better composition. For starters, you want to put points of interest where the lines intersect, and then you can use the full lines to place other important objects. Let's look at some examples, and I promise this will start to make sense. Instead of centering our main subject or our point of interest, it's on an intersection. When you're taking pictures of nature and there's a horizon line, you want to put that horizon line on either the bottom third or the top third, depending on what you want the dominant subject to be. So let's talk about people on camera. This is what you don't want to do. Don't put their faces right in the middle of that box or any of the boxes. They look tiny here, there's all this negative space around them, but now if you move them up and put their eyes on or close to that top third, it looks way better. They could be in the middle or off to the side, either way works. Just make sure their eyes are close to that top third line. You see the rule of thirds being used all the time. For example, on The Office, this is how all their interviews were shot, and they look great. You want to also consider camera angles with people. This is a well-framed shot. The camera is right at the person's eye level. That means putting the camera right about their face height. Now, if you move the camera down, their eyes are still on that top third line, but this is not a flattering angle. The only time to use this angle is to show power, if someone needs to look big and mighty and fierce. But generally, people don't like being shot at this angle. You also don't want to go too high with your camera. This looks better than the low angle, a little bit, but it also just looks like a mistake. Like you didn't have a tripod, and the only place to put the camera was on top of some high shelf or something. So remember, shoot at a person's eye level. The rule of thirds is still a helpful tool when you're using different focal lengths. Whether it's a medium shot, a long shot, or a close-up, the same rules apply. In the case that you're doing an off-camera interview, and by that I mean the subject is looking at an interviewer instead of at the lens, you want to keep their eyes in the top third line, but you want to place them on a vertical third that gives them a little bit of space in front of their face. I like to think of it as like room for a speech bubble. The rule of thirds also still applies when you're shooting vertically for social media. Here's what the rule of thirds looks like on a vertical 9:16 frame. Still 9 equal boxes, drawing our eyes to different power points and intersections. It's basically the 16:9 rule of thirds on its side, which makes sense, right? A lot of cameras and phones let you put rule of thirds guides on the screen while you're filming. Go ahead and try it.
Start by going to your settings, scroll down to find your camera icon. Click on that and you'll see grid. Turn it on. Now go to your camera and you'll see you've got a grid on your screen. Start by opening your camera app, click on the settings icon in the top right, scroll down to grid lines, and then select 3x3.
Okay, I hope your mind was blown by this simple yet extremely useful way to improve the composition of your videos.